Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast. All right, take two of the Sneakers and Cleats podcast, episode 131. This is Thursday, September 5th. It is the first day of the NFL season and the first day of the next, 6 months that you'll hear Denver Broncos and Bo Nix out of my mouth every single day. But that's besides the point. Chuck, how are you?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I was up a little early. I did some laundry this morning and then came in and, now I get to see your guys' bright, shining faces.
I did my laundry at 1 a.m. last night.
Why do you stay up so late?
There's work to be done. There's always work to be done.
We got a lot on tap for you today, but before we get started, I want to remind everyone, subscribe to our YouTube channel, News 4 and Fox SA. If you're so inclined, download, rate, review the podcast version of this as well. Get it posted a couple hours after we get off the set here, so it helps us out a lot if you give us a 5-star rating, rate reviews, give us feedback, whether it's positive or negative. Feedback is a gift, as fellow podcaster Chad Millman likes to say. So, Chuck McIntyre and I are going to talk about the UTSA Texas State showdown, the I-35 showdown, and their sixth iteration coming to us on Saturday at 3:00. I'll be there. You, my friend, will be in Cleveland on Sunday. Woo! When you go to the Dog Pound and see the Cowboys and the Browns play. We'll talk a lot about that, who wins, who covers, and lastly, we're going to make some predictions. It is the first day of the NFL season officially, so we got AFC, NFC, and I even did the awards just so I can be totally wrong. So we'll get to all those as well.
You'll be in really good company, I can assure you that.
And Chuck has a surprise that even surprised me, and I would just like to say right now, I did not influence his picks at all. He
small sample size,
all on his own.
Small sample size, but and a preseason sample size.
Yeah, right. We'll get the Cowboys win total. We'll get Texans win total. But first, I want to get to something fun. So the Kelsey mix, the Travis and Jason Kelsey cereal mix, they're mixing with Reese's Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Lucky Charms into one box. Chuck, are you a cereal guy? And second, would you eat this cereal?
I would if I was 8 years old. But yeah, I was when I was a kid, but there's no way I would touch that stuff now. Have you seen what's in those boxes? And it's all reads the same. Most of the stuff I can't pronounce, and most of them have, some sort of GMO in there. Like, no, I would not. No.
Ignorance is bliss, my friend. Ignorance is bliss.
I'm sure it tastes amazing. That's why we ate it when we were 8 years old.
I don't know about the combo of all those, like Reese's Puffs, cinnamon. First of all, is it Reese's or Reese's? I say Reese's, but Reese's Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Lucky Charms. I feel like the combo, like the milk underneath, would be like really, really convoluted, wouldn't it?
It's the hairy buffalo.
I don't know. Reese's sounds too close to
Pieces.
You said it, not me.
I don't know. I love the milk under a cereal, like a cocoa, like a Rice Krispies treat or Cocoa Krispies. I love that. The Fruity Pebbles, I love those. And underneath, or Cocoa Pebbles, I love those. But I don't know, the milk underneath. I don't think it'd be good.
Well,
also the marshmallows, I don't know.
That's going to taste like something that you've already eaten, and they just slapped a different picture
Probably.
on it. So, yes, they don't really venture off the res too far when it comes to how they concoct these cereals. So Jack Green brought me a box of the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, and it was something similar to this. What? Of course, it was fantastic. Tasted great. But I don't know if it was because I was so enamored with what was on the box.
Like the old Wheaties boxes.
But there was so much sugar, though, Matt, I burned the roof of my mouth.
So were you a household that allowed your kids to have the sugary cereals, or were you one of those households that's just like, no, reading Raisin Bran and Bran Flakes?
No, I don't. I think they were more like, my wife was really good at cooking them and making them breakfast. So there was some of that. We didn't say that you couldn't eat it, but I don't remember them all being
horrible
that
for
sugar
you.
high on it.
Well, when I was a kid, we had some houses where it was like, I want to go to that person's house because I know their snack pantry is full and my mom's not looking, that kind of house. And then you have the other houses where it's like, we don't want to go to that house. They're going to make us eat broccoli, which I'm sure you've experienced as well.
Yes, we had a pretty good variety at my house. Although, man, my go-to was SpaghettiOs when I was a kid.
Kraft mac and cheese was my
That
mom's
was
go-to
an
for
elite
us.
level meal
So,
right there.
all right, well, I just wanted to start off with some fun. I was listening to the New Heights podcast on my way over here, and I was like, I don't know, I got to ask Chuck about that. So anyway, let's start with some
Well
trivia. I got a harder trivia question for you today because I gave you too easy of one on Tuesday. So with the Cowboy season starting this Sunday, I wanted to ask you, Dak Prescott will start his 9th Week 1 game on Sunday for the Cowboys. What is the Cowboys' record over his previous 8 starts? So he started 8 already. What's their record in those 8?
I think it's got to be pretty good, although I know I'm going to get this wrong because it's a darn fine question. But, they played the Giants a lot, and he owns the Giants. So I'll start with that.
Played the Giants 4 times.
Okay, well, then I'm assuming that's 4 wins right there. And I know McCarthy, too, since he's been there, too, he always likes to make a big deal about team focus on Week 1. So I'm going to say it's pretty good, but I've told you my walk across time feels like a walk across the street nowadays. So I have a hard time remembering what has happened, not only today, but last year and 9 years ago.
Give me a record.
Oh, you want it right now?
I want it. Yeah, give me it. Let's do it right now because we're going to get right into the Cowboys. So let's do it right now.
8-2. I'm sorry, 7-2.
6-2. Because the 8 games.
Okay.
This will be his
Croatian method.
No,
I'm
6-2. 6-2 is your guess.
Yes.
All right. The answer is 3-5.
Really?
Yes. They're 3-5 over Dak Prescott's 8 starts on Week 1. They lost to the Giants in 2016. They beat the Giants, then they lost to the Panthers, then they beat the Giants again, then they lost to the Rams, lost to the Bucs twice, and then they beat the Giants last year. So all 3 of their wins have come against the Giants. They have not beat anybody not named New York Giants over the last 8 years on Week 1.
That surprises me, but oh well. I'm sure today's episode is going to be filled with many things that we can play a year from now and go, he was not only wrong about the trivia question, but that SOB didn't get one of those teams right in the playoffs.
Well, if you just go back to our last Thursday episode when I predicted Clemson will make the Clemson will make the playoff, it looks really bad right now. So I am full of really good predictions. So take everything you hear today with a grain of salt. However, they're 3-5 overall, straight up, and 4-4 against the spread. Their average loss was by 6 points on opening day. They lost by 16 to the Bucs, 8 to the Panthers, and then 3-2-1. So close games generally. But
where was I? I don't even remember them playing the Panthers.
I think last year it kind of got into your head. They won 40-0 against the Giants. So you're like, they beat the Giants every time, but they lost to the Giants.
That's probably
8 years ago.
I mean, I remember them playing the Panthers once, and that was because I went to the game in Carolina. But that's the only time I remember them playing them. All
right, we got a lot to get to. So let's get to that Week 1 matchup. Cowboys at Browns. Browns are -2.5 point favorites. It's Sunday, 3:25, Huntington Bank Field, which it was news to me that's what it was called. Bob, did you know that that's what the Brown Stadium was now called? Huntington Bank Field?
Yeah, they just changed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to go with field. They couldn't just say stadium because there already is a.
Yeah, there's like Cleveland Browns Stadium. It's Huntington Bank Field at Cleveland Browns Stadium or something like that.
Well, I mean, there already is a Huntington Bank stadium.
Oh, is there?
Else? Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I had no idea. This is our resident Browns fan, Bob. Yeah. So he
guess what? I ain't calling it that.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna call it the Dog Pound, and we're gonna go back.
Right, that's exactly right.
All right, so the over/under's 41. Chuck, to you, main storylines as we come into Week 1 for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I think they're going to be tested up front, right? You've got 2 rookies, BB and Guyton, that are going to be starting first rookie offensive lineman duo. I think since 2010 or 2011. It's been a minute.
Is Guyton healthy?
Pardon me?
Is Guyton healthy?
Guyton is healthy. He had an illness earlier in camp, but he's healthy.
Okay. But as I was saying.
Yes.
Sorry.
As you're saying, Bob, yes, they're going to be tested up front.
So yes.
The reigning defensive player of the year again on the other side. So.
Yeah. You got Myles Garrett. You got one of my favorite guys, Big Z, former Packer. That dude is a beast. I love watching that guy play ball, and he makes plays. So they're going to be tested. So Zadarius, be kind to the Cowboys, rookie offensive lineman. But I mean, you talk about having to flip a switch, right? These guys, first of all, BB, learning a new position. By all accounts, is learning it well, but man, these are real bullets that are going to be flying on Sunday, right? Opening day, everybody's going to be hyped. Guyton and BB are going to see things in their life in a speed in which they've never seen it before. So how quickly are they going to adapt to what's going on? A very tough test for the Cowboys in week 1, but not one that I think is going to be, I wouldn't put this on a, scale of 10 as it being a 10. I think it's a 7.5 to 8. This is a road game. Right. All road games in the NFL, usually tough, but they have enough talent and they've been in games like this before where they should make a good accounting of themselves, and I'll be surprised if they don't.
It's not an insurmountable game. It's not a game they can't win. I mean, they're only 2.5 point underdogs.
Browns are a little banged up too.
Browns are a little banged up, but you look at how, just using last year as a measuring stick, at how good this defense was at home. 13.9 points per game at home, the best of any unit in any stadium in the NFL. They had an 8-1 record at home. They had the best third down percentage at home on defense. They had the best defense by yardage in the NFL all of last year. They had the best passing defense in the NFL all of last year. You're not going up against scrubs, and you're going up against a defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz, who knows Mike McCarthy in Dallas very well. He was the Eagles defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl. He was a defensive coordinator there for 5 years. He knows them extremely well. He knows how Dak plays extremely well. So I don't think that the Cowboys are outmatched at all in this game, but it is a hell of a challenge to start off the season.
No question. And, I think to your point, because they do have other guys in their defensive line, right? Mm-hmm. All 3 levels of their defense are really, really good. How much is CeeDee Lamb going to play? Is he going to be the CeeDee Lamb that we've all come to know and love and get paid like a rock star? Is he going to be that guy with only 2 weeks being with his fellow teammates? That'll be a fascinating thing. And then if that's not the case, and I think the expectation would be that it might take a while for CeeDee to ramp up, then how good does then Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert have to be in this game? Not to mention 87, who's already pretty damn good.
Yeah, when you're talking about the offense, the offensive line is for sure the biggest question. The other question is, how's this running back room going to look, and what's the snap count going to be? We've seen a lot of Rico Dowdle in social media over the last couple of days. Maybe he's going to lead and be the lead back. Maybe it's going to be Zeke. Maybe it's going to be Dalvin Cook. We don't know how Deuce Vaughn's really going to be used. What's the Tony Pollard, post-Tony Pollard era Cowboys offense look like when you don't have that lead back?
There's a big question mark there, right? And I'm curious to know if this Rico Dowdle stuff is all
Doty.
Right. Why do I say Dodal all the time? But it's like, I know it's like Dow Jones, Dowdle. It's easy to remember, Chuck. Again, CH thing. What is that going to look like? Is it Rico? Is this a smoke screen that he's going to be the guy? But against a defense like this, do you need a more athletic guy that you can get the ball out to in space? So I think there's, I don't know if it's a smoke screen, but that has to be a consideration for, coaches aren't going to play their hand in the media before week 1. And there are going to be a lot of surprises, I think, for both teams, because that's just what this is, especially when the Cowboys hardly played any of their legit players at all during training camp. This feels like a lot like Christmas Day. Like you're just going to get a bunch of boxes and see what you get when you open them.
This game's going to come down to the trenches. I mean, defensively, are you going to be able to stop the run? You kind of luck out by not getting Nick Chubb playing in this game. Their offensive line is back and healthy. Jack Conklin is back. Jedrick Wills is healthy. Joel Bitonio, is that how you pronounce his name? Bitonio. I don't know why I can't pronounce his name, even though I live in
relation to San Antonio.
We've been doing this too long together. Our minds are melding here.
Right.
Are you going to be able to stop the run is another question. I mean, you have Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong, Dante Foreman on the other side, a couple of bangers over there. Is Mozzie going to be able to come up big? Or is Jordan Phillips going to be able to come up big? Is Linval Joseph going to be up to speed now since that late signing?
Is Maris Leofau going to be the starter too?
Yeah,
I mean, I was a little surprised that he. But again, this is without the benefit of being at the practice every single day. So, how good must Maris Leofau be to get on the field that quickly? That's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. And are those guys who suffered those ACL injuries going to be back full strength? Trayvon, DeMarvion, are you going to have those guys back to their peak forms or better a year post-surgery? So.
Right. And I'm curious to see, like, there's something about the Stevens kid that is really intriguing, right? His size and athleticism and he just looks like he flashes every time they put him in. I know it's preseason, but when he gets all the way back with his knee and what's going on with him, because he's got another thing going on.
Yeah, I hope
right
he
now
plays. He was DNP yesterday. So.
But he just looks different to me. There's some guys that just do. Obviously, his size is a giveaway that he looks different. But I just wonder if his role in week 15, 16 is a lot different than it is in week 1 and 2.
Bob, is Deshaun Watson back or no? Like, is he healthy? Is he the MVP favorite that we saw in a couple years ago with the Texans?
No, definitely not. But all we need him to be is a barely competent quarterback. You know what I mean? Just all he's going to do is be a game manager. But the one thing a lot of people don't realize is Conklin's knee injury was every bit as bad as Chubb's.
Yeah,
people don't know that. And they switched him over to the left side this year, and this will be his first start on the left side in like 12 years, since like college. And so you got to believe that Micah Parsons is going to be lined up right over the top of him every down.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to apply a lot of help. They're going to have to, rub and chip like crazy on the left side of the offensive line to give Watson any time whatsoever.
It's a good point. And I'm going to be interested how they use Jerry Jeudy too. Just as a Broncos fan, I'll be interested to see what he contributes early on and across from Amari Cooper.
A whole lot of slot, I would think.
Yeah, probably. All right. So prediction: win, loss, or somewhere in between for the Cowboys.
Always hard to, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a soothsayer.
Don't you? Don't?
My feel is I could look at this a bunch of different ways, right? It's hard for me to really pin down and come up with something that I would feel comfortable saying. Having said that, I'll say Browns by 3, just because it's the pound. They've got, they've had the benefit of an entire offseason to get healthy, to get right, even though they are, their injury report looks, a little bit different than the Cowboys one for week 1. A lot of names on that list for week 1. Close game. Maybe the Cowboys have to figure some things out, but I don't know. I can see McCarthy having a couple of things for the Browns that they haven't seen before that work well. And then I think this defense has got something to prove. You get one turnover and, maybe you get a special teams play that'll help you out. I mean, I could really see it go the other way, but if you're sticking a gun in my ear hole and asking me for a victor, Cleveland's 2.5-point favorite, so I'll go with Browns by 3.
16-13 Browns or 17-14 Browns. I'm going to take the under and take the 2.5.
It's such a juicy under.
The under looks fantastic. Also, we're going to talk. I'm going to use the lines every week in this show. I know we can't bet in Texas, but that's just because of the people up in Austin. You guys are giving away $500 million a year and don't want to spend it on anything and don't want to recoup that money and use it on something else. That's besides the point. But I am going to use the lines, even though it's illegal in Texas. So I would take Browns minus 2.5. I would definitely take the under. 41's juicy.
Juicy.
All right, let's get to Cowboys win-loss predictions. So I want to start there before we get to the Texans and before we get to predictions. This will give you kind of a foreshadowing into our picks for the season. So Dallas is over/under on wins for the season is 9.5. It's heavily juiced to the over, so most people think it's going to hit the over. What say you?
Yeah, I think it's the over. If they don't win double digits, to me, this will be a bad season. And I think they have enough talent. I think there's enough corporate knowledge with McCarthy, the coaching staff, the quarterback, top 5 defense, 10 wins. I like that.
I've got them right at 10-7. So 10-7 is where I've got them at. And I can't really see them getting too many more wins than that. I'm looking for where my schedule is here. They're at Cleveland. I think that's a loss. They win. They'll probably win next week against New Orleans. You got Baltimore coming in. You always beat the Giants, so I'll take a win over the Giants. At Pittsburgh's never easy. Like, no matter what their quarterback situation is, whether it's Russ or whether it's Justin Fields or whoever, that's just never an easy game. You are home to the Lions, never an easy game. You play at San Francisco. They have your number. They literally and figuratively have your number. They're going to lose that game probably. Atlanta, Philly, Houston. I mean, it's just not an easy schedule. You play Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. It doesn't get really easier till later when you have Carolina and Washington, but then you're at Philadelphia and home to Tampa Bay in between those. It's not an easy schedule, and I think 10-7 would be a pretty big accomplishment.
I think that's low end for me. I mean, they better win 10 games plus. 10 gets you into the playoffs more than likely. maybe a little more difficult now that they've added the extra game that you can't bank on just 10 wins getting you in.
Mm-hmm.
But, the other side of this is just like in any other sport, right? It's when you play somebody, right? If a team has a major injury at the time that you play them, that's a benefit for you, obviously. And it's hard to know because these schedules are so long. It's who's going to be the deepest team at the end is going to have the best chance to win because the team that starts out the season is going to look vastly different at the end. So it's kind of hard to predict. These teams like the Cowboys, I mean, you win 12 games a year, you're going to be playing a playoff schedule the next year, which the league tries to make it harder on you to then keep making the playoffs. So
to that point, though, I don't see the Cowboys as a very deep team. So if you do suffer some injuries in to your top end talent, that you're going to start falling by the wayside later on in the season.
We don't know, right?
But
we really don't know because you're right. At this point, you don't know because you haven't seen, right? But that's not to say, like, if we all think DeMarvion Overshown is a hell of a football player and really made a lot of plays last year before he got hurt, still working his way back from the knee injury, and he's your backup, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So
in terms of just looking at that spot in terms of depth.
That's 2 overs here. I got 10. He's got a little bit more than 10. And then as far as Houston goes, let's talk about the Houston Texans here for a second. Their win total is almost exactly the same. 9.5, juice to the over. You are extremely high on the Texans this year.
I am for a myriad of reasons. Obviously, what they did last year passed the eye test for me in a lot of ways, right? Because I honestly was under the impression when they started the season, this is going to be at best a 5-win team. They checked every single question mark that there was, including, to me, the biggest one of all, which was, and I know I've talked about this before, so pardon me if you've heard this. They were amongst the most beat up teams in the league last year. They were in the top 4 most beat up and the only team in the top 7 or 8 that ended up making the playoffs, and they won a playoff game. Now you get all those guys back. You have a great offseason where you're adding depth, adding starters. They, by all accounts, drafted very, very well in terms of adding to that depth. You've got a quarterback and a head coach and an offensive coordinator that now have a whole year under their belt to quote unquote work out the kinks, which worked out pretty well last year. Now you can expand the playbook. This is a gritty team. It's got depth. They've got playmakers on both sides of the ball. The receiving core is maybe the deepest in the entire NFL. They did a very good job juggling a mangled up offensive line last year. I like what I hear from the head coach in terms of grit. I think these teams have a tendency to sometimes take on the personality of their head coach. And so if this team learns to play like D'Amico Ryans played with his communication skills with those guys, I don't think there's a damn thing that can stop these guys.
I want to say
period. The rest of the league be damned. I mean, there's not a team in the league to me that pops like them top to bottom, not even the Chiefs.
I'm always hesitant to believe in a team that was great one year and then is expected to take the next leap. They came out of nowhere last year, and we just don't know. We don't know what a sophomore season looks like for CJ Stroud. We don't know what a sophomore season looks like for D'Amico Ryans. And I feel like a lot of times, I don't have stats to back this up. It's just basically watching the NFL my whole life. Whenever a team is this hyped coming in, going from 200 to 1 or 150 to 1 to win the Super Bowl last year, now to like 15 or 16 to 1. Those teams don't do well. A lot of times they don't even win a playoff game, and most times they don't even make the playoffs.
That's fair because now there are expectations, which there were none last year. So you could say that they were playing, freestyling. They didn't have to worry about any outside noise about, oh God, here come the Texans coming to town. We got to buckle up because we know we're in for a fist fight. That's going to change this year. This is what we talked about too, about playing the playoff schedule. We don't know how they're going to play with a more robust schedule in terms of teams that made the playoffs the year before. You're right. Those are all unanswered questions, but given how many boxes they checked last year in the question category, I really like this team's chances this year.
So over 9.5,
100%.
I'm taking them. I'm taking them exactly the same as the Cowboys, 10-7. I think Vegas is telling you what to think of this team, and 9.5 juice to the over tells you, okay, they might be a good team, but I don't know if they're a great team yet. So I'll take 10-7 for the Houston Texans. All right, let's get to our season-long predictions here. So, Chuck,
we have to.
You are up first. We'll go.
So will you remind me who I picked too?
We got it up on the screen right there.
Okay.
That's AFC for you, Chuck.
Okay, like I said, I felt like I was pretty confident with this, as confident as one can be without one game being played yet. But
So
yeah,
obviously you like the Texans. Texans are number one.
yeah. What do you have a problem with on my screen? Let me ask you that.
Well, I would say the shocker, and like I said at the beginning, I did not influence this at all. He has the Broncos at the 3 seed winning the AFC West.
Okay, so let me tell you this.
I'm not mad about it, just to say.
I know you're not, and I probably just put the kibosh on your squad. But
Probably.
if we're going to spitball like this, when we're talking about crowning a champion next year, 2 months into next year, so I'm really bad at the prognostication thing. But what I saw with Knicks, what I saw with how they literally, and I know it's preseason. That was a different kind of football team playing a preseason game. I don't know that I've ever seen to a man a defense play like they were trying to inflict bodily harm and trying to bury guys every single play. There just seems like all of a sudden there is a mindset flip. And I know this is a really good defense, right? And they've always been
Typically.
hyper competitive, but this is a kind of team that looks like they're going to fight to the death every single week. And if they just get something from a young quarterback, and I think the organization's done a pretty good job filling in around them, I just think they could be one of those teams that gets off to a nice start, sneaks up on some people, and then they create some momentum that some magic can happen. Granted, as we sit here today, I know that that's 100% me just spitballing,
Throwing darts.
but again, some of these teams that we think are going to be great as we sit here today, based on what they did last year, there's going to be a 6-win team and probably 2 of them, and they don't even get in.
Yeah, so going head to toe, Chuck, you in the AFC, you got Texans at the 1 seed, Ravens 2, Broncos 3, Dolphins over Bills and Jets in the AFC East. Got the Chiefs at 5, the Steelers at number 6, so no Bengals, no Browns, and then we have 7 is the New York Football Jets.
I just like the way Saleh also.
Salah?
Was that his name?
Yeah.
Salah? I like Saleh.
Saleh.
Like Saleh Mignon. Oh, he's a nice player.
And
He's a nice coach.
And you have the Texans beating the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship game. I told you if that happens, I'll kiss you. Like I will.
And I said you can blow me a kiss and then buy me lunch.
I'm really never mind. I was.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No,
yes.
you can do what makes you happy. I will buy you lunch. I will buy you lunch for a week if the Broncos make the AFC
So
Championship
again,
game.
I'm spitballing some of this stuff, but I like the way that coach coached the 49ers, their defense. I like the way that coach,
Speaking of the Texans, or speaking of the Jets. Okay, solid.
is done with coaching toughness, and if they can just stay healthy and obviously keep the quarterback upright, which remains to be seen. I mean, that's a huge question mark. That there's just one of those teams you don't want to play every week, and if they have a quarterback, that makes them even more dangerous.
All right, Chuck, NFC for you. You kind of running it back here. Niners, your 1 seed. 2 seed is the Cowboys. 3 seed Atlanta. 4 seed Packers. 5 seed Philly. 6 seed Lions. 7 seed Bucks.
I didn't figure out the last one, but
Dallas 2 is different than what I have. So I mean, a lot of it's different than what I have, but Dallas 2, and then the Packers making it to the Super Bowl. A little bit Homer.
Through the Cowboys.
A little bit Homer, but
yeah, of course. But again, now we take the youngest team the NFL had seen in 6 years, and now they're younger. And this is a team that I think, if we're being fair, may have not have been the worst team on the football field when they played the 49ers in that football game last year, if the quarterback makes a couple of plays.
So rematch of last year.
I think
Packers
so.
beat the Niners in San Francisco.
It's tough.
Or in Santa Clara.
You know, and if it really does get to that, if the 49ers are at home for that game, it'd be hard to pick against them legitimately if we ever got to that point. But again, that's the beauty of freelancing and freestyling here as we sit in early September and no footballs have been kicked off yet.
All right, so Packers, Texans in Louisiana in the Superdome.
Sign me up for that. That sounds like a lot of fun, because I believe it's on Fox too.
Who wins?
The Texans would win.
Texans win the Super Bowl. You heard it here first.
Because I think, again, if at this point, as we sit here today in September, the Texans feel like a more gritty team than the Packers do.
I'm
Packers are a wee bit more finesse.
I'm gonna speed through mine because I know we still got to get to the UTSA games or UTSA
Okay.
game before we get out of here.
I'm sorry. I thought we had all day to do this.
I mean, I
I'm
have
sorry I
all
wouldn't
day.
have gone on so much about
I think Luis
something that guaranteed it's going to be at least half wrong.
Luis and Bob have something else to do, I'm sure. So let's start with the AFC here. I got the Bengals in number one. I love the Bengals this year. As long as they get Jamar Chase into camp and he is playing by week 2, week 3, I love the Bengals. And as long as Burrow can stay healthy, that's the thing: is can Joe Burrow stay healthy? I hope so. I really hope so, because they're such a fun offense to watch when he does. So I got the Bengals at the 1 seed. I think they're going to be tied, but the week 2 game next week is Bengals at Chiefs. I think that can come down to decide the tiebreaker for the 1 seed. So Chiefs get the 2 seed in my bracket here. The Jets get the 3 seed, and I believe I had the Colts at the 4 seed. I think that the AFC South is very similar to the NFC East, where there's always a different winner. The Texans have won it a lot, 7 times since 2010, but I think the Colts, I love Steichen. I like Anthony Richardson a lot. And I think if they can stay healthy, health is always the great equalizer.
Yeah.
If they can stay healthy, I think that they will narrowly edge out the Texans.
And you feel like Jacksonville's probably this close too to making some sort of move.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be shocked if they go out and have a great year and prove everybody wrong, just based on how many guys, veteran guys that they cut. I think they like who they drafted, and that team, you're not sure what you're going to get week to week, but they've got some talent too.
Jacksonville's one of those teams that can go 12-5 and I won't be surprised, or 5-12 and I won't be surprised.
I'm with you.
So I got Colts there. I got the Texans making the playoffs. I got the Ravens making the playoffs, and I got the Bills making the playoffs as well as the wild cards. My AFC Championship game is Bengals and Chiefs in Cincinnati. I think the Chiefs go in there and they win, and they go to their 3rd Super Bowl in a row. They're 5th in the last 7 years, and I just want to blow my brains out because my whole wife's family is Chiefs fans, and it's just going to be
but here's
unbearable.
the thing. First of all, we don't want you talking like that. It's going to be okay. Secondly,
well, then I hope you're right. Okay.
Here's the thing. Secondly, what are the odds? Pardon me. What are the odds these guys are going to win 3 in a row?
Never happened.
Like, it's not happening. It's not happening.
I don't have them winning, so
it's not happening.
All right, let's get to the NFC real quick. I got the Detroit Lions as the 1 seed in the NFC. Detroit gets the bye. I got the Eagles winning the NFC East as the 3 seed. The Cowboys come up as a wild card in the 6. I have the Atlanta Falcons winning the NFC South. They are going to play the Green Bay Packers. That's the 4-5 matchup. And then San Francisco, I have playing the Rams. There's actually a lot of divisional matchups there with the Cowboys, Eagles, and 49ers, Rams. I love the Rams, man. Even though they don't have Aaron Donald, I think they're a young, good, gritty team. Matt Stafford is going to be back, and he's going to be leading that team to victories. So I have the Packers playing the Lions. I think I had did I have the Packers? Sorry. Pull that one more time. Yeah, sorry. Packers. Thanks, Luis. I didn't print them out for myself, so I was going off of what's stated on the screen. Packers, Lions in Detroit in the NFC Championship game. Lions advance to the Super Bowl, and I have the Lions winning their first Super Bowl in NFL history. And Jared Goff, I think he plays 15 of his 17 regular season games in a dome this year. He's going to have a dome the entire way through the NFC Championship game. I love the Lions, man. Give me some more Lions.
I can't go against your pick. I kind of like your sneaky Atlanta pick too, because it's, Kirk Cousins is capable of putting up numbers, right? Even if they're in blowouts, he's going to get you a bunch of points in the second half. But if they have a guy who can at least disperse the ball and do it for the most part with good discernment, they might be another one of those grit. They're a grit ball club too, that if they just get something from that spot, they might be somebody you might have to tango with later on in the year.
Yeah, Atlanta. I have my surprise pick in the NFC is Carolina narrowly misses out on the playoffs. I think that the Panthers are much improved. I like Dave Canellis. I think that Bryce Young got a really raw deal last year. I don't believe in Bryce Young at all, but I do believe that they are going to narrowly miss out on the playoffs. That's my surprise pick. And then I did take it a step further and chose some award winners as well. MVP, Jared Goff. Like I said, 15 of his 17 games are going to be in a dome, I believe, and the other ones aren't going to be in the bad weather. So I do believe Jared Goff will win the MVP and show the LA Rams what they missed out on. Dan Campbell got winning the Coach of the Year, as they have the best record in the league. I have them going 13-4 this season. Micah Parsons getting the Defensive Player of the Year. He deserves it. He's due for one, honestly. He in this Mike Zimmer defense is going to be all over the field. I love it. I got to have one homer pick in there. Bo Nix being the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think that he's in a great situation with Sean Payton, and I'm really excited to see how they play this year. Kamari Lassiter, the Houston Texans pick in the second round, going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then Comeback Player of the Year is really hard to decide because you have Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Anthony Richardson. You have a lot of quarterbacks coming back. I got Joe Burrow because I got them being the 1 seed in the AFC. So that's what I got. I can't wait till I'm wrong, like in 24 hours. And that's what it seemed like I was in the college football playoff. But that's what I got for the awards. Any qualms there, Chuck?
None whatsoever. I have a hard time picking my nose, so don't ask me to make those kind of picks.
I wasn't going to.
Just stay with the teams.
I wouldn't dare. All right, let's get to UTSA, Texas State. Obviously, I hope everyone has a wonderful football season, but slightly less wonderful than the Denver Broncos, please. UTSA playing Texas State this Saturday, 3 o'clock, the I-35 showdown. The 6th iteration has a lot of interesting facets to it, in my opinion. None more important, though, than the head coach connection between GJ Kinney and Jeff Traylor. And I pulled up a shot from Monday where Jeff kind of illustrates how close these two actually are.
As far as my relationship with GJ, I think that's pretty well documented. I mean, he was my quarterback, and he's like a son to me in every sense of the word. We communicate very frequently, and I don't really talk to very many head coaches. I mean, but he's one that we talk to quite a bit, and I'm very happy for his success. It doesn't surprise me at all. I coached with him at SMU. I coached with him in Arkansas. I would probably say he would speak of me as one of his mentors or father figure, and I would say the same of him. He's literally like one of my own kids, and I'll be rooting for him every single day until Saturday at 3 o'clock.
I love the closeness to the two coaches. I really do.
I do too. I like the fact this is one hell of a matchup too. I like that both of these coaches, whatever it is that makes them great coaches, obviously they probably pulled from one another over this time. And it's cool to see that Coach Traylor flipped UTSA and took them to a place they've never been before. GJ has done the same thing. And even though Texas State has been to the mountaintop before, it's been decades since they were, a legit program that people were looking at and, having wide eyes about, and not take anything away from, there's been some in recent memories. I mean, what Coach Baleb did when he was at Texas State, a number of years ago, but to have this recent upsurge is so incredibly fun for people that went to school there and, have your team relevant in some way, shape, or form. I'm super fascinated to see what's going to happen in this ball game and who does this mean more for? Which program? I don't know I can't answer that, I don't think.
As close as Jeff Traylor and GJ Kinney are, they haven't talked a lot this week. And Jeff was asked about that on Tuesday. Luis?
I'm surprised we haven't, but no, we have not. I don't know if he's being might be being the old wily veteran on me right now, I don't know what he's up to.
You're not going to make the first move?
I'll probably reach out if he doesn't holler at me by Wednesday or Thursday just to make sure he's not going to beat me too bad.
All right, Coach. Jeff is so shucksy doodles about things. Like, he beat me too bad. Like, you've beaten him 5 times, not him particularly, but UTSA. Right. I mean, UTSA is in a higher division. They're a better program than they have been for a longer period of time as of recent memory. Like, you don't have to play it off like that. This is all just coach posturing.
Yeah. It is, but I mean this is difficult because this game does mean a lot to both fan bases, right? But there's some real life elements between these two, and you've done a very good job of highlighting it. But I mean, when you talk about GJ playing for Jeff and the circumstances that led up to that, which was GJ's dad getting shot in the abdomen because of a parent that was pissed off at him. And then GJ coming over and playing for Jeff after that happened. I mean, like, that's how do you put into context that relationship when we're talking about a couple of football teams that want to win a ball game on Saturday? I mean, there's so many layers to this, and I think both guys do a really good job of somehow trying to keep the focus on football without having to bring up some of those memories too, which I'm sure for either guy, that how do you navigate that kind of life situation?
You kind of have both sides of the coin, right? You have the fan bases who I wouldn't say are being nasty, but are poking fun at each other on social media, and 5-0, 0-5.
Some of it's really clever though, and it's clean clever too.
That's what I'm saying. They're not being nasty or anything, but there's a lot of smack talk going on, and then you have the level of incredible respect going on between GJ and Jeff. It's very yin to yang when it comes to looking at the game, but how fans are looking at it and just how the teams are looking at it. As far as on the field, UTSA has got to protect Owen McCown to win this game. Texas State was 18th last year in sacks across the entire nation, I believe, with 34. Penalties can't happen, but you're going to have to outscore this team. Obviously, you have to outscore a team to win, but you're going to really have to light it up on the scoreboard this week, and you can't do that if Owen McCown's running for his life.
I think Texas State's quarterback was running for his life too, so I think there's some similar issues, but I think, the old adage about teams making the biggest leap between week 1 to week 2, both of these teams will be ready. I was astonished at how well Texas State ran the football. I mean, it was almost like they were trying to give nothing away in the passing game, but they didn't necessarily have to with as many guys that they had that had, so many great numbers in terms of yards per carry. Again, I'm just fascinated because I didn't think last year GJ could flip it like he did at UIW. He did. I was also shocked with how good UTSA was last year. And damn it, Texas State hung right with them. I mean, and, played the street brawl game, right? They matched the physicality. That was a tussle last year, one-score game that was close right up to the end. So with both programs, I think we both believe that they're going to be good this year. Let's see some explosions on Saturday for all the right reasons. Two guys that like each other getting after it. My guys against your guys. At the end, we'll hug at midfield and say, see you again next year and let the best team win.
Yeah, and I think the Texas State has a little bit of a, not detriment, but I know we're going a little long here. Sorry. We are. Luis needs a sweater. We'll wrap it up here in a second. The Bobcats brought on a lot of transfers on defense. Obviously, you saw kind of some quirks of that last week against Lamar, allowing 27 points. It's going to take a little while for those guys to mesh. I don't know how that's going to look on Saturday. Are you going to need more time to mesh than a week and a half, 2 weeks? If they do, UTSA can put up points. They've shown that they can put up points, and they're going to go fast on offense. The key for the Roadrunners on defense to me is don't allow the Bobcats to score 35 points. It's pretty cut and dry, but last year they were 7-0 when they scored 35 points, 1-4 when they scored, 1-5 when they scored less than 34 or less. Can you stop this offense from scoring? Last year they did. 20-13 was the final. Can they do it again with a new quarterback? You got Jordan McLeod that comes in from James Madison.
Yeah, he was the conference player of the year.
Yeah, he was one of the best quarterbacks in college football last year. They led the Sun Belt in yards per game and points per game. Can you stop them? That's going to be something I'm gonna want to keep track of. So, who wins?
Damn.
Line is 1.5, 2.5 for Texas State. Texas State is favored. UTSA will almost certainly be the underdog in this game.
That is, to me, the most surprising thing of this all. So what does Vegas know that we don't? But it feels like a trap game. I will say UTSA by 3.
UTSA by 3.
Yeah.
And
it
special
pains me to
teams.
say that because I love GJ. I love my school. But I'm just going to go with skins on the wall.
All right. I think UTSA.
A little further along than what Texas State is as we sit here before the ball game. I'll let you know differently if it flips the other way.
One thing I know is that it's going to be a close game. I feel almost certain to say that it's going to be close. UTSA only plays close ball games.
and not only that, I think in a lot of ways, because they got your squad coming in the week after.
ASU, baby.
But this is, in a lot of ways, this is going to feel like their Super Bowl. There will be many explosions in this game. And I would say that if you maybe not for the kids that aren't from around Texas and, some of the transfers, but we're probably looking forward to showing ASU what they can do more than they are UTSA. But for the Texas guys, and I think for GJ, this is literally Super Bowl one for them. This is going to be fun.
I will not be surprised if either team wins, but
Me neither.
But I think UTSA has enough to pull it out. It's just going to be, can they play a clean game, and can they capitalize on the mistakes that Texas State will make? Because they've proven that they will make mistakes, whether that's turnovers or penalties. I think they had 90 penalties last year for like 900.
10 points
Right.
in the season.
So it's going to be a really interesting weekend. It's going to be a really interesting game. Don and I will be back on Monday. I don't believe you'll be here because you'll be traveling back from Cleveland. So Don Harris and I will be back on Monday to talk about it. That's it for the Sneakers Cleats podcast today. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating. Post pictures of my predictions on your fridge because they're going to be 100% accurate, except I would love if Chuck's were more accurate in the AFC. We'll see you guys right back here on Monday.